Whether you knew it as the Genesis or the Mega Drive, Sega seemed determined to find new ways.
We have a pretty open-ended show today. Got a couple of funny things to kind of go through, but I didn't really get to watch my show prep through today. Kind of like to roll out of bed and get in front of the microphone. So if anybody's got any ideas, anything to throw at me, hit me up. Put out the tweet, get live real quick. Get rolling. Hopefully I keep getting in the chat what's going on with y'all today. Smash the like button. Let's go. Let's go, folks. Let's do it. Some relaxing tunes, so let's have some relaxing tunes today. Sounds pretty good. Yeah, I figured it was. I turned it down. That should be better now. All right, folks. What we got going on today? Let's check out the news. Another shooting? Wow. You know, it's like, let's talk about this, but like only briefly. I want to talk about it in a larger context, because this is something that is making me nuts. Oh, happy birthday to your daughter today. I have a cousin that's his birthday today, so that's cool too. But yeah, I don't want to hang on this for very long, but it is something that keeps happening. Like, it's happening more and more again, and like, it never really stopped happening, but it's just in America, mass shootings happen. We don't even cover them. Like, mass media doesn't really talk about them that much, and the reason is because they happen so often that they're not even news anymore. But it really is wild how we have so much of a problem with like isolation and with like white supremacy, essentially, because that's usually the target for these, the source of these things. I'm not sure if this is exactly what happened here, but let's read on through it. South Carolina shooting leaves 5 dead, including prominent local doctor and 2 children. Good God. 5 people are dead, including 2 children, after what police called a case of a mass shooting Wednesday at a home of York County, at a home in York County, South Carolina. So this happened at somebody's house. The police identified a subject in a nearby house after a hours-long search. A sixth person was injured and taken to a hospital for serious gunshot wounds, York County Sheriff's Office spokesman Trent Ferris said in a press conference. A doctor, his wife, and 2 grandchildren were found in the home and died as a result of gunshot wounds, according to a tweet from York County Sheriff's Office. That's how they're doing press releases? Nice. Police haven't realized information regarding the suspect. Robert Leslie, 70, his wife, Barbara Leslie, and their grandchildren, Ada, 9, and Noah, 5. Good God. All pronounced dead in the scene. All right. So anyway, just add this to the stack, add this to the pile of mass shootings, nothing about motivation, nothing about a manifesto. So, I mean, unfortunately, there's nothing else you can really add to this, at least not according to this article, which is from this morning at 5 a.m. So, sorry to start your morning with some horror, but there you go. There you go. That's part of waking up. And one of the things that people, kind of put forward for solutions to this is like gun reform or something. And like, while I understand like that motivation, and I understand that like, and maybe you're gonna disagree with me on this. I mean, like America definitely does have like a gun problem, but I think the way you're back to work. No, nice to talk to adults. The way that we talk about gun reform in the United States is essentially like, oh, we're going to do background checks. Oh, we're going to like increase penalties on people, and basically make it so that like it's more punitive for individuals to have guns, right? That aren't supposed to, specifically. And that's like a backwards way. First off, I don't think the guns themselves are the motivation for these things. The problem is that we have a society based on inequality and hate and essentially capitalism, which is extremely alienating to people, right? And then 2, those kinds of gun reforms end up, America is a gun problem, yeah. But also those kinds of gun problems do specifically like criminalize people who like who are poor, who have guns, people who are potentially black people of color who have guns, because they're already going to get the lion's share of coverage from police, and you're giving them giving cops one more reason to arrest them. So like any kind of gun policy that puts more people in prison than currently exists isn't a solution. It's because just turning the screws on this is going to make the problem worse, not better. I don't know. I think about this a lot, and there's a lot of and plus, I mean, it is a effed up mental attitude. I mean, I think there are like too many guns out there for sure, and like getting guns is way too easy. And at the same time, like, there's no like real good way that I can think of, and I'm not like a policy expert on this, to be clear. There's no real good way to kind of get those guns out of people's hands. Like, there's just, I don't know. The gun, so the gun lobby, the gun manufacturers, etc., have so much power and so much influence that they basically control Congress. And also, what the Democrats do is they sort of like use, like very, very cynically, right? they use these kinds of shootings to fundraise and, you know, try and, you know, get a lot of good press and PR. And they'll say they'll put in like these gun reform bills or whatever, which, you know, would be good or bad, you know, regardless of the actual intention. They have zero chance of passing, but people get so like sharply emotional about it and so sharply. I don't know what you do either to get those guns, but like anyway, people get so like sharp about it that, you know, they'll give money to Democrats or they'll give money to individual Democrats about it, and it just needs to be. You wouldn't be free today if you carried a gun. Yeah, I mean, it's wild times. I don't know how you would get those guns. It would be real hard and take a generation. It would. I mean, a generation is that's like lucky if it's only a generation. I don't know. It's just like it is a culture problem in the sense that like guns have become almost like a part of cult, like associated in the culture, not like any part of that. And then two, like we have material problems where people are pushed to the point where they're going to, you know, go on these mass shootings. I don't know. I don't have like anything thoughtful and insightful to say like beyond that. So it's just like, you know, there's a million guns in America or whatever, millions of guns in America, and you know, the shootings aren't news anymore. Mass shootings at someone's house this time isn't news. That, you know, ugh. So yeah, how are we doing today? Just kicking off our morning with a very, very bright, thing. Oh, nice. Joe Manchin is at it again. He's at it again, folks. He's at it again. Every stable adult should be able to have them under current law, but nobody needs 150 guns. I mean, the question becomes, how do you define a stable adult? You know, that's difficult. That's just how it is. That's how America goes. All right, Joe Manchin's at it again, folks. No circumstance in which I will vote to eliminate or weaken the filibuster. So, similar to climate change, it starts with education, not laws, but it's been getting out of hand. I mean, I think climate change is probably easier to solve than the gun problem, honestly. I mean, at least you can frame climate change as potentially bad and as potentially a problem. Many people in the United States would basically say that the wide and broad availability of guns is a good thing, not a bad thing. And like, I don't know. You get around the problem where the denial of it's real, but like when you ask people who are like, you know, conservative who look like, what the problem is, it's that they'll find every single culture war problem under the sun to blame it on, and nothing material. And really, I mean, again, the guns problem is a capitalism problem from the perspective of gun manufacturers have a material incentive to get them out on the streets like as much as possible because they're a, you know, multi-billion-dollar industry. And then two, they I mean considering that capitalism is isolating, and I actually have this thought, and I've talked about this on the show a fair amount, specifically about like school shootings, right? And part of what goes on with those, I think, part of what happens in education is it's such an isolating experience now where everything is sort of pitted into this like hyper competitive, everybody against everybody sort of fight, right? Or at least contest. And if you sort of take that logic and bring it to the most logical extreme, like then essentially you can sort of like justify, wrongly obviously, but it's like it's in the most extreme circumstances, like eliminating the competition in a lot of ways, and that is a sort of tortured logical conclusion to this like never ending us against one another. I don't know. I haven't totally. I've been cooking that one in my brain for a very long time, but it just sort of feels like the way that things go. Yeah. Maybe climate change will wipe out enough people with guns, especially in Florida. That's not nice. People thought the same thing about COVID. Didn't work out that way. No, it only killed 500,000 people. I mean, there's hundreds of millions of Americans. It's going to kill lots of people, but like in order for it to actually cut into real numbers, it's going to be I don't even know if I would be in favor of a gun registry, if I'm honest. I mean, I'm not against. I mean, I don't know. Whatever. It's that's something that's. I mean, they got everybody's social security number, so I mean, like, it's not necessarily something against. I just don't know if it'll do anything. All right, Joe Manchin. No circumstance in which I will vote to eliminate or weaken the filibuster. He was just a month ago talking about how, and I hate talking about this filibuster, but it keeps coming up. And this one stupid procedural move right now is this one stupid procedural move where you basically need 60 votes in the Senate to advance any kind of legislation. The only reason this is important right now is because, I mean, it's always important because this is how a lot of good stuff gets blocked from our stupid government. But specifically things like that voting, the House Bill 1, the Voting Rights Act, the PRO Act, and many, many other laws that would be broadly redistributive, that would actually do good things for people, get blocked. And Joe Manchin recently said, "Oh yeah, we can change the filibuster. Sure, we can stop this horrible, relic of Jim Crow, essentially, that prevents anything good from happening." And now he's like, never mind. No circumstances in which I will vote to eliminate or weaken the filibuster. Says Joe Manchin. Let's read. Joe Manchin reiterated, I just wanted some music. Is it bad? You may turn it off. Senator Joe Manchin reiterated his opposition to eliminating the filibuster on Wednesday, dimming hopes for changing the contentious rule. In an opinion piece published on Wednesday in the Washington Post, Manchin, from Democrat from Virginia, cautioned against ousting the voting procedure to keep the majority party from bypassing minority opinion and enacting legislation. Quote, the filibuster is a crucial tool in protecting that input and our democratic form of government. That is why I have said it before and will say it again to remove any shred of doubt. There is no circumstance which I will vote to eliminate or weaken the filibuster. So here's Joe Manchin basically doing his thing where he just turned into, like, he just basically says the thing that, like, he says he's against the thing that everybody, all the rest of the Democrats want, because he wants to get something out of the deal. He wants to water it down. He wants to, like, make himself, like, look really good in terms of his branding. And yeah, it's just it's let's read on. The West Virginia Senate also signaled it may oppose the use of budget reconciliation process to pass legislation such as Joe Biden's landmark $2 trillion infrastructure plan. So he's against that. So the $2 trillion infrastructure plan would be something that would essentially like expand. Well, we talked about this. It would, it has tons of housing, funding for housing. It's got tons of funding for expanding things like Amtrak, fixing our broken roads, bridges, stuff like that. And it's like half of what we actually need for infrastructure. But Joe Manchin's like, I'm against it. And because the Senate is 50-50, the fact that Joe Manchin's there, doing it means, he can get away with doing this, or because the Democrats because the Democrats like basically cave to him every single time. A key Senate official ruled Monday that Senate Democrats could use the budget process for more legislation, according to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer's office. Vice President Kamala Harris would then be able to break a tie vote. Quote, I simply do not believe budget reconciliation should replace regular order in the Senate. How is that good for the future of this nation? Senate Democrats must avoid the temptation to abandon our Republican colleagues on important national issues. Republicans, however, have a responsibility to stop saying no and participate in finding real compromise with Democrats. What if they don't? What if they don't do that? Then what happens? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, he's being intentionally thick so that, he can essentially use his position in the middle to leverage and get what he wants. And to, again, personally brand himself as the quote-unquote reasonable person. Under the filibuster, the Senate requires a 60-vote minimum to end debate before a majority passes a bill. Yeah. The Senate stands at a 50-50 party split. Yeah. Yeah, Kirsten Sinema agrees with him. She doesn't want anything good to happen either. Yeah. So, again, fuck Joe Manchin. All my homies hate Joe Manchin, as Andrew would say. Oh, God. You need to impeach President Joe Manchin. Let's see. What else you got this morning? News is a lot like harder to come by in the Trump days. Oh, since the Trump days. Let's see. Biden's gonna do something on guns. Who cares? China warned Washington not to boycott the Winter Olympics. Who cares? It's actually shocking that the only executive action that Biden's doing is the gun thing. Like, it's actually surprising. Well, I mean, I guess it isn't, but like, whatever. You didn't know who Joe Manchin was in February? Oh, he's been doing this for years. I mean, like, he's been doing this since, like, every time the Democrats even get close to like anywhere we're in the same. Yeah, he basically just always sort of like he works that good, or he like very on things like right, essentially their own bodily autonomy in case of abortion specifically, or women who can have children's right. There was a he's basically a pro-life Democrat. Yeah, he got launched into the stratosphere, into the absolute um absolute top tier of the news, I guess you could say, and like the consciousness of everything, because he and Kirsten Sinema and a couple of other Democrats are like they blocked that $15 minimum wage bill, for example, and like they're not going to let anything good happen ever. That's just how they are. He's what you hope a Republican would be like. I mean, he's the reason, or he is, because like people like him and Joe Biden, like historically have like worked in confluence with with essentially like creating a broader like anti-left agenda in America. Any anti-worker, anti-everything. It's just that they are there as a part of the structure to put brakes on anything good that could ever happen. And that's what he does. That's what his role is. And you don't even have to make it about like an individual Joe Manchin. You can make it about, I mean, like if he wasn't Joe Manchin, if he wasn't doing this bad shit, then somebody else would. Like Kirsten Sinema would do it, or Joe Biden, if he was in the Senate, would do it, or something like that. Because I mean, if you remember, Joe Biden and the Democrats, when the $15 minimum wage was going through as well, just made up a rule, or made up like a roadblock for themselves to say, oh, look, we'll support this, but it's got to get past the parliamentarian. Oh, it didn't get past the parliamentarian? Well, let's move on. It's just like looking for ways and looking for procedures and looking for ways to just hit the brakes, stop anything that could potentially, get into the hands of workers and just regular people, and still break off, everything for the corporations and for the millionaires and the billionaires. That's what they're there for. That's their part of the their role in the grift, really. So yeah. Oh wow. Here's some bad news, folks. Here's some bad news. So QAnon is able to, or not just QAnon, but right-wing Democrats essentially are able to raise money. Surprise, surprise. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, who again was taking off all of her committees in the House, she was under investigation for a minute because of her role in the January 6th invasion, or whatever, and people call it an insurrection, in the Capitol. Frustration for me comes from MSNBC center, CNN center, right, Fox News propaganda, Fox Nazi propaganda, and the US BBC center, right, Scott? I mean, yeah, before we get to this article, that's exactly what, like, again, the news and the press in the US and in the UK, and even, I mean, the BBC and the US NPR, I mean, like, they're somewhat better, I guess you could say, than like corporate media. However, like, the reason that MSNBC, CNN, and Fox sort of constantly they have rails about what they will and won't talk about, because they're at the end of the day, they are corporate entities, they are capitalist endeavors, and they need to make money, and they have interest based off of that, and seeing the system change from what we have at the end of the day isn't going to benefit them. So, I mean, like, to say that they have no political influence in this is ridiculous, and I'm not saying that's what you're saying. Obviously, you're saying the opposite. But yeah, they use or they at least, potentially not even intentionally, but not potentially not even consciously. It doesn't matter whether it's consciously or not. They will jealously defend their position and their ability to make money doing what they do. So there you go. Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene raises 4 times as much money as AOC did in her first 3 months. The conspiracy peddling House member has been stripped of her committee assignments, but not her MAGA fan base. Let's read. Supporters of Marjorie Taylor Greene are putting their money where their conspiracy spewing mouth is. First-year lawmakers campaign said it raised $3.2 million in the first quarter of 2021. Holy crap. More than 4 times what progressive star AOC from New York collected in her first quarter back in 2019. News outlets reported on Wednesday. Greene's team reaped $3.2 million from more than 100,000 individual donations from all 50 states, a staggering amount for a lawmaker at the start of a term, according to Politico. In 2019, AOC's campaign took in $728,000 after she became a sensation with the underdog ascent to Capitol Hill. Over 100,000 donors poured in over $3.2 million support me, averaging $32 per donation. Greene tweeted, "You know why? I stood my ground and never wavered in my belief in America First policies and putting people over politicians, and I will never back down. As a matter of fact, I'm just getting started." So great. QAnon endorsing Greene was stripped of her House committee assignments after past comments came to light, which she said school shootings were hoaxes. She surmised that a laser supported by Jewish money started a California wildfire. She also endorsed violence against Democrats and called the proposal a proposed vaccine passport, quote, the mark of the beast. God, that's so cool. Yeah, BBC's publicly owned, so is NPR. Or actually, in NPR, it's it's a publicly owned, privately run entity, which has got its own set of problems. Last week, Greene introduced the Fire Fauci Act, calling for the salary of infectious disease expert Anthony Fauci to be reduced to zero while a replacement was found. Incredible. She wants him to work for free. So yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene raking in cash because. So I have another theory, and like this is, this might be crackpot. So reel me in if that needs to happen. But like we were talking about Joe Manchin a minute ago, and we were talking about how people like him, people like Joe Biden, make like actual like good policy impossible. They sort of like cut it off. Anything that can help working people off. So there's no sort of like left solution, right? But when it comes to people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, and up until near almost a little while ago, but like people like Trump, even they sort of like take that popular energy that would otherwise be essentially be going towards good things, and they sort of like take that righteous anger that people have and put it towards conspiracy theories because there's nowhere else for it to go. Like people aren't just gonna like suck it up and take it. And then grifters like this, grifters like Marjorie Taylor Greene, grifters like Lauren Boebert, grifters like Matt Gaetz, grifters like even people like Dave Rubin and Joe Rogan and Jimmy Dore even sort of take that energy and just exploit that to their own ends. And it essentially creates a certain amount of political incoherence. So like I definitely understand like why people would appeal to why that kind of approach would appeal to people. Because
well, I have news for you.
What?
Mike Pence, have you heard about Mike Pence's book deal?
No, I haven't heard about Mike Pence's book deal.
It's a multi-million-dollar 2-book deal by Simon & Schuster, the same one who rejected Josh Hawley for the Capitol insurrections. So ties into what you're talking about. Yeah, Mike Pence. 2 books, multi-million-dollar.
All right, I'm just getting news about Mike Pence getting a book deal. Interesting. In the UK, if a politician threatens another life, it's automatic disqualification. That isn't crazy in my opinion. No, I mean, like, well, no. No, it's not. It's not crazy. It's just that the quiltists think the BBC is communists. What are the quiltists? What is quiltists? Mike Pence has a book deal. Let me find this. Let me find some information on that. Seven-figure book deal. What? Mike Pence has signed a multi-million-dollar book deal, 2-book deal with publisher Simon & Schuster.
So let me ask you this, because you had the rioters who were there.
Making him one of the first alums of former President Donald Trump's inner circle to ink such a lucrative contract. 2 people in the publishing industry tell CNN the former vice president's deal is worth 7 figures, somewhere in the range of $3 to $4 million. News of it comes as the publishing industry grapples with questions of how to handle high-profile would-be authors from the Trump administration. Yeah, of course. Of course they go to Sweet Boy Pence first. No, Q-Cult. Yeah, they think BBC's communists. News of it comes from the publishing industry as the publishing industry grapples with questions of how to handle high profile. Yeah, of course, you're going to Sweet Boy Pence first. The concern, according to highly placed sources in publishing, is whether the writers could be counted on to tell the truth, and whether a publisher might provoke a damaging backlash and result in culture of cancellation. In the culture of cancellation. Oh, that's a great formulation right there. In the culture of cancellation. I would try to keep an open mind, said one publishing source. That doesn't mean I would sign them. Recent veterans of the Trump administration who want to write books are already facing a higher bar than others for getting a contract. Oh no, they're being oppressed. According to 7 senior people who work in the book publishing industry, they agreed to speak candidly about trends in the industry in exchange for anonymity. Kellyanne Conway, the former counselor to Trump who left the White House last August, is also reportedly writing a book with her major Republican house. Oh, good. Can't wait for a Kellyanne Conway book. A representative for Pence declined to comment about a book deal, but the former Indiana governor is making moves to suggest he would run for president in 2024. God. The Mike Pence rehabilitation tour is well underway. I mean, like when the Q people, like, or when all the Capitol rioters on January 6th all started cheering Mike, like kill Mike Pence or whatever, like that is the best thing that could have happened to him from a like anti-Trump standpoint. Essentially, that was like snapping him back to at least reality, or at least to like, because he was always like the guy who was like the real Republican in the Trump White House, right? And now the fact that he's like, he basically got burned off by them. They like literally constructed a gallows to kill him, or purportedly, or whatever. Now, you know, now he's essentially like he's a sweet boy. He's a good boy again. Incredible. Pence announced he was launching a new political advocacy group called Advancing American Freedom. The proto-presidential campaign vehicle boasts a large advisory board of Trump allies and former administration officials, including Conway, Newt and Callista Gingrich, and Larry Kudlow. Ew. No, he's never a good human. He's terrible. I mean, he basically destroyed Indiana when he was governor there, with, you know, right-wing policies. I'm not sure about the specifics. I need to get an Indianan on to talk a little bit more about that. But I mean, he did what every Republican governor does. Yeah, it goes on to talk about how they canceled the book deal from Josh Hawley. That's cancel counselor. That's the woke mob. You know, Simon Schuster is the woke mob. Yeah. Yeah, that's just how it goes. It's just how it goes. What did I have in here? Oh yeah. I did want to put this last little bit out there for the Amazon Drive, just because, you know, we haven't heard anything about it. Here's a report from Dave Jamieson on Twitter to give us a quick update about it. So he's a Huffington Post, a labor reporter, and he just says, for those eager for the Amazon results, the board has spent a week going through the ballot challenges by the union and the company. The count has not started yet, so everyone will have to sit tight a bit longer. Hang in there. With 5,800 workers in the unit, it is likely thousands cast ballots. The labor board hasn't handled an election this big in a couple of decades. Also, their staffing is falling 26% since 2010. I'm willing to cut them some slack. They played a Tom Petty song. Update. It's now looking like the vote count will open to the press will start later this week. That could push results into early next week. Total moving target. Stand my advice to sit tight. So, yeah. So we're gonna get results eventually. But yeah, there you go. There we go. Yep. What else we got trending? We also got bus hijacked by protesters set alight on 6 in North Ireland. Uh-oh. Let's look at that. Belfast. Oh boy. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Ginny could provide some context on this, but apparently Belfast is burning again. It's, the troubles are back, perhaps, question mark. Crowds of youth in a pro-British area of Belfast set a hijacked bus on fire and attacked police with stones in the latest of a series of nightly outbreaks of violence that began last week. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said he was deeply concerned by the violence, which has injured dozens of police officers in recent days. The protesters burned cars and hurled petrol bombs at police. Violence comes amid growing frustration among many people in the pro-British unionist community at new trade barriers between Northern Ireland and the rest of the United Kingdom that resulted in Britain's exit from the European Union. Well, that's some more Brexit stuff. Ginny has been busy all morning. That's okay. I'm just going to read this article. The violence comes growing for sure. Yeah. So Brexit is responsible for this. Congratulations, Brexit. You did it. The pro-British Democratic Unionist Party have also pointed to a decision by police not to prosecute Irish nationalists, Sinn Féin, for a large funeral last year that broke COVID-19 regulations. Sinn Féin, in turn, have blamed the DUP for stoking tensions with their staunch opposition to the new trading arrangements, and they're calling recent dates for the region's police chief to step down. So basically, the troubles are back, right? Is that what this is? Is that what's going on? That's what it sounds like. The walls and fences were built between two communities to prevent clashes during 3 decades of sectarian violence in Northern Ireland, and it largely ended in 1998 peace deal. I'm deeply concerned by the scenes of violence in North Ireland, Johnson wrote in a Twitter post. The way to resolve these differences is through dialogue, not violence or criminality. God. The fact that, I don't know. The fact, like Boris Johnson is a cartoon character, right? He's just like this evil caricature of what a British patrician is supposed to be. And the Labor response at this point, and this is me and my ABC understanding, the answer to him isn't somebody like Corbyn, isn't somebody who would actually challenge that approach, but another blue blood like Keir Starmer is the idea to counter somebody who's this cartoonish. I don't know, man. Labor Party seems screwed to me at this point. maybe Blairism 2 Electric Boogaloo isn't going to do it. But I don't know. What do I know about British politics? What do I know about British politics? Not that much. That's tasty. That's some good kofefe. Oh, boy.
This was the 54th annual shareholder meeting for Berkshire Hathaway. And while shareholder...
I didn't even click anything. He prosecuted people with unintentional manslaughter early on and didn't do it for the mentioned event. Of course. Because this kind of, this kind of violence is state sanctioned, essentially, right? I mean, at least unofficially. That's a pretty towering fire in that picture, though. That's pretty cool. So yeah, bad deal. Why is Margaret Thatcher trending? It's only been 8 years since Margaret Thatcher died. 8 glorious years. NYPD Goon Squad guide? All right. Hold on. Hold the phone, folks. Hold the phone. I think we need to cover this and then we'll get out of here. This is from The Intercept. We're going to go in a little bit of overtime today. NYPD Goon Squad manual teaches officers to violate protesters' rights. Exclusive internal NYPD documents shed new light on the Strategic Response Group, or SRG, the heavily militarized police unit behind the crackdown on the George Floyd case. Interesting. When thousands of New Yorkers poured into the city's streets last summer following the police killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis, they were met with the very police violence they had come to protest. You use the same thing that you're trying to get people to go against that people are mad about already. Just going to make them madder. 8 people charged because they organized a demonstration against police brutality. Yeah, apparently anti-police brutality is more dangerous than police brutality. In the days following Floyd's death, and then again during the protests last fall, New York police arrested hundreds of people, many with no probable cause. They pepper sprayed protesters and struck them with batons, trapped them in the streets with no way out, pushed them to the ground, and shoved them with bikes. In Brooklyn, on May 30th, an officer pulled down a man's COVID-19 mask and pepper sprayed him at close range. Nice move. That's a classy one. Bragging about it to fellow officers, but failing to provide the man with medical assistance as required by police regulations. Just spray him and let him sit. Days later, another officer in Brooklyn struck a protester in the back of the head while he was complying with orders to disperse, causing a gash that required 10 staples. And in the Bronx on June 4th, police in riot gear corralled hundreds of people before an 8 p.m. curfew, then beat and arrested them under the watch of the department's highest-ranking uniformed officer, the chief of department, Terrence Monahan. Over several incidents, police regularly and unjustifiably used force against peaceful protesters, with state investigators finding that they beat people with blunt instruments at least 50 times, unlawfully pepper sprayed them at least 30 times, and pushed or struck protesters at least 75 times. Officers targeted and retaliated against people engaging in constitutionally protected activity. The New York Attorney General Letitia James' office concluded, and quote, blatantly violated the rights of New Yorkers. Yeah, right, like the Monty Python thing. Look, I'm being repressed. Leading the violent crackdown was New York Police Department's Strategic Response Group, or SRG, a heavily militarized rapid response unit of several hundred officers. Since its founding in 2015 to deal with public disorder events and terrorist acts. Wow, okay, so 2015, interesting timing. Civil rights advocates have objected to the deployment of the unit to protests. And then NYPD chief of the department and later commissioner James O'Neill pledged at the time that the SRG would, quote, not be involved in handling protests and demonstration. Oops, you were wrong. Yeah, they do that now. And you knew that. You saw most of this BS with your own eyes. Yeah. The pledge turned out to be hollow the same year the SRG was deployed against. Like, I didn't even wait. Like, oh, yeah, we're not going to use this. Oh, yeah, we are, actually. The pledge turned out to be hollow the same year the SRG was deployed against Black Lives Matter protesters. Since then, the unit's armor-clad officers and bike squads have become a regular presence at protests where they stand out for their confrontational and aggressive tactics. After each confrontation, complaints about this unit streamed into the Civilian Complaint Review Board, the independent body tasked with reviewing allegations of police abuse. Investigators found the disproportionate numbers of SRG officers accused of wrongdoing to have exceeded their legal authority when compared to the wider department. The group earned a reputation among activists as the NYPD's Goon Squad. Goon Squad, folks. Despite its visibility, little is publicly known about the SRG. And it's basically a clandestine operation. It's like their secret. Wow, there's 91 pages to this guide. Oh my God. A specialized officer trained to respond to protests, even when frequently cited number of 700 SRG officers in Espint. The NYPD will not confirm the unit's headcount. So, yeah. Now, a series of internal documents obtained by The Intercept shed new light on the police unit behind some of the most brutal repression and protests in the wake of the George Floyd killing. The Intercept is publishing 3 of the public records with the story, including SRG's guidelines and manuals for field force operation and bike squad. So, like, this is important because, like, when NYPD does something like this, when they, like, create their goon squad, because they're the biggest goon squad of all, like your state and local goon squads are going to pop up as well, because it's essentially New York providing leadership and permission. The documents offer a comprehensive overview of how the SRG operates. They outline the unit's responsibilities during routine assignments to precincts across the city, to which its officers are dispatched in response to spikes in crime. Yeah, this is a long article. I'm going to pick this up tomorrow because there is a lot here, and I don't want to, like, short sell it. Holy crap, 303 pages. Yeah, we're going to pick this up tomorrow. God. Yeah, I just saw this today. I'm going to pick this up tomorrow and read through it and get a little bit more information and maybe provide a bit more context. But holy crap. All right, everybody. I'm going to send you over to Andrea. Y'all go hop on over there. Cyberdemon 531 above it all. But, like, I'm going to send this to her too and see what she's got on that. But holy crap. All right, everybody. Hit like, hit subscribe, the Patreon thing. Bye-bye.